They heard a big splash in the water. The people then started to raise alarm. Her husband jumped into the water in an attempt to save her, but for the intervention of some men, he would have also died.
Plus, Minority on Parliament's Works and Housing Committee calls on government as a matter of urgency to release funds for dredging of major drains in Accra. The National Commission on Civic Education urges two leading political parties to show good faith as they head into maiden meeting to disband their militia groups tomorrow.
We would call on all political parties to come to that table in good faith and begin to commit to a process of disbanding party vigilantes in our body politic.
We'll get to hear from Chairman of the Peace Council, who is also confident its meeting with both parties will yield desired results.
We will expect that after the meeting, consensus will be reached on the terms of reference and engagement. Then we'll be in a position to tell the public the venue and the timing for the mediation.
University of Education reopens after 3 weeks of closure over students' riot, but despite calls for reconciliation, the local UTAG wants the Vice-Chancellor removed.
The issue is whether you then have the authority to discipline anybody that might this time go wrong. So that's why we now feel that the best way for him is to resign, because he has failed as a leader. If he refuses, I think he should be sacked.
And in business, World Bank 2019 Pulse report revealed disappointing growth rates in sub-Saharan Africa despite gains made by some economies.
And later in sports, any prison officer found culpable in the assault of female referee Theresa Bremensu will be sanctioned. That's according to the PRO of the Ghana Prison Service, Vitalis Aye.
Now, 35-year-old Nigerian to spend 6 years in prison for lashing her daughter with a kitchen knife and a pair of scissors.
The trouble my daughter had been causing me, she have always been stealing anything, unless she didn't set her eyes on the thing. If it's money, any amount it is, she will take all. She will not leave anyone for me.
We have that coming up later on here on Newsnight. Now we settle for the details. Do join us with your thoughts and comments via WhatsApp on 0244340437. I am MFA Pau. Now, they were forced out of their room by Sunday's downpour, but while searching for safe grounds, they were swept off their feet by the floods. That's according to a relative of the mother of one-year-old baby who went missing after Sunday evening heavy rains. The National Disaster Management Organization has found the remains of the woman identified as Vida Keke, but is yet to retrieve that of the baby. This brings the death toll to 4. Maxwell Agbagba was with the NATMO team searching for the bodies of the two and now reports.
Volunteers from communities around the Kole Lagoon were on hand to assist the NADMO search party. The team is made up of some personnel of the National Disaster Management Organization and family members of some persons unaccounted for after the rain. Naomi Agbabu, with her son on her back, is said to have been forced out of her home when the flood waters began to rise.
She first sat in the car but stepped out after the water entered it. People were up there watching her. They told her the place was dangerous. Some seconds later, they heard a big splash in the water. The people then started to raise alarm. Her husband jumped into the water in an attempt to save her, but for the intervention of some men, he would have also died. He sustained some injuries and was mentally unstable. He was taken to the community hospital at Sukura. Before the rains in the afternoon, the little boy opened the door and was yelling my mother's name. And my mother responded, "Agbagbu, are you in the room? I can't lift you. If I do, we'll both fall to the ground."
Just here, just this hotel.
Is that the found the back? The back of the hotel.
This one we should just say behind the hotel.
Okay, later our research team is coming.
No, my sister.
The body of the woman was eventually found behind a hotel along the Kolegon coastline by some fishermen who then alerted the Kolebu police. According to NADMO, the body has since been deposited at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital morgue. Maxwell Agbagba, Joy News.
Now we can hear from the director of the Greater Accra NADMO, Archibald Kobina. He's been providing details of the other people who died in the floods.
I think that so far, very unfortunately, We've recorded a couple of incidents in the area of loss of life. One around the cemetery, Audome Cemetery, gentleman in his 40s thereabout, and then another young lady around the Aveno. Then we've had this lady that we're looking for and the baby. That happened around Flamingo. So that makes 4. And then there's another reported of a lady, and that one they said electrocution. And so these are the unfortunate loss of lives that we've had from yesterday and this morning. And like you can see, we've been with you. You know, we're still on the search and rescue. I think that it's an appeal that we cannot stop. It's part of our Director General's, aim and one of the visions that he's been pushing seriously. And it has to do with public education, because a chunk of the job that we do rests on public education.
Now, minority on Parliament's Works and Housing Committee is criticising government over delays to release funds to the Works and Housing Ministry to dredge major drains, which is one of the causes of the floods that we witnessed in Accra. Now, according to the ranking member on the committee, Samson Ahi, the sector ministry last week briefed them on its inability to get drains desilted because the Finance Ministry is yet to release funds. Accra Mayor Mohammed Ajaysoa is blaming yesterday's flooding partly to choked storm drains.
As it's been played back, this is a perennial matter that happens every year, and we've been trying to grapple with it this year as well. We are prepared for the rain, but our efforts are intended also to mitigate the effect. First of all, we should also establish the fact that as a result of climate change, the rain pattern has changed. It rains more heavily nowadays than before, and an impact is why they were taking some time. Yesterday, personally, I was in the rain before it started, and I went through the rain before I got home. Quick one, our storm drains are a bit choked, and many are defective, and that's one of the reasons why we don't have space for a vessel to carry the water into the Korle Lagoon. As I speak to you now, the Ministry of Works and Housing has awarded contract for the construction of the storm drain in Accra, and some have started from Bekan area. I visited the construction of the storm drain last week, Thursday, with the Hydro Department officials, and some are yet to begin.
So that's your mayor and my mayor telling us that storm drains are choked. But ranking member on the Works and Housing Committee, Samson Ahi, is demanding government releases the funds as a matter of urgency.
Then, last week, the committee met with the minister, and again, he just lamented. He was just also complaining about the fact that they are trying to get commencement certificate from Finance Ministry so they can undertake the sorting of major drainage in Accra. So that was what they were pushing. So, but the fact is that before we left office, we engaged dredge masters to do major function and deepening of gutters in Accra, drainage in Accra. And so when the government came, they didn't continue with the whole contract. If they have continued, I'm sure we would have had some improvements with regards to drainage systems in Accra. But they terminated the dredge masters contract.
The rains have set in. Metro is predicting more rains. What would you want to see government do?
Government should consider this as an urgent issue and then release whatever money required by Works and Housing Ministry so that they can, go down, dredge major drains, sill them to allow free flow of water.
Now, that's Samson Ahi there. He's a former Deputy Minister of Works and Housing as well. Let's get on the lines now and speak to the Executive Director of the Bureau of Public Safety, Nana Yaw Akwada. We all recall we're in this country when we had the June 3 disaster. There was a report that made recommendations that is supposed to deal with some of the issues that trigger perennial floods. Mr. Akwada, do we know what happens to these recommendations?
Well, very good evening to your listeners. I think, and also thank you for the opportunity. I think basically whatever happened to the recommendations spelled out in the June 3rd twin disaster report is obvious for all of us to see. Over time, from where we sit, we do not see clear attempt by government to work the recommendations that were outlined in the report. We see government, nitpicking the recommendations, and it is no different from what we have observed in other aspects of public safety issues. For instance, the report did indicate, recommend that the city authorities must form what we call sanitation police, which will be basically a group that will be drawn from the Ghana Police Service to help, control the extent of littering that people are doing, careless littering, to help control how people even dispose of waste indiscriminately. That has not happened. And so if we jump into the middle of the recommendation where it is stated that in drilling or dredging the Odo should be intensified, and that's all we concern ourselves without significantly improving how people are littering, significantly improving on how we manage solid waste within the various metropolitan assemblies clustered around. We will come back to square one. It's only a matter of hours when there's a downpour.
Yeah.
All the litter around will come and choke the hitherto dredged rain or river, and we'll come back to square one.
Okay. Ms. Akwada, we're grateful for your time. At a time, last night's rain has claimed 4 lives and a baby is still missing. And interestingly, we have all the fine laws and we are not implementing it. There's a recommendation. We've seen this before, and in its worst form, there's a recommendation that is yet to be implemented. We have also on the line a hydrologist consultant, Mr. Wise Ametepe. And you know what we are supposed to do. What is wrong with our system?
Good evening, and to all your listeners. I think what is wrong is inability to properly manage the flood within the community. That is number one. That is a major cause. Then number 2 is our inability to enforce development in waterways. Then another one, some of our channels get silted, even though we have constructed channels. They get silted and they are not desilted on time. And then I should say the menace of waste. These are just by few that I can mention at the moment.
And I'm told you've raised some concerns about the construction of the Circle interchange ahead of the construction of an interchange at Nima. What really are your concerns with that?
No. What we were thinking or we thought was that the interchange has some drainage problems in the area. So if these drainage problems are not solved, we'll still continue to have flooding in the area. So during the construction of the flyover, the idea was to take along one of the major flood factors in the area, which is the contribution of Nima stream. This drainage system was designed, but unfortunately, the authorities could not at that time get the funding to do the components of the drainage system, which is the Nima section.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're grateful for your time. That's Mr. Wise Ametepe. He's a hydrologist consultant. And you heard earlier the former Deputy Minister for Works and Housing raising some concerns about why monies have not been made available for the Works and Housing Ministry to engage in the desilting of our storm drains, amongst others. You heard the Mayor also raise concerns about that. We're still working the line to see if we can get the Minister in charge of Water, Works and Housing to give us some answers to this, whether that's the situation. You're still listening to Newsnight here on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, as the two leading political parties head into their maiden meeting to disband their militia groups tomorrow, there's a much-awaited meeting. We've all been waiting for that as part of our campaign to disband party militias. Now, today, the National Commission on Civic Education, NCC, is urging them to show good faith if the process is to yield any positive results. There's been exchange of letters between the NPP and the NDC since President Akufo-Addo directed them to convene a meeting to draw out a roadmap towards the disbandment of their militia groups. Now, with all outstanding issues cleared up now, all is set for that meeting tomorrow to be moderated by the National Peace Council. Tonight, Joy News is learning that both parties have acknowledged receipt of this invitation and have elected 7 representatives each for the meeting tomorrow. We have more on that shortly, but let's hear from the NCC chairperson, Josephine Nkrumah.
We would call on all political parties to come to that table in good faith and begin to commit to a process of disbanding party vigilantes in our body politic. The lip service to the disbandment or to the negative aspects of vigilantism can no longer be tolerated. And as we sit here, let us, with a renewed sense of commitment and vigor, continue to speak up and sustain this important national discourse. Otherwise, as 2020 approaches, when even the IGP and some of his officers have expressed worry that either we find a resolution to this or 2020 there will be an explosion, then we know that this indeed is a matter of urgency.
You heard the chairperson of the NCC, Josephine Nkrumah. Now, she made that statement during an engagement with stakeholders on the vigilantism menace. They presented a report today, and my colleague Komala Adom was at the launch of this report and joins me in studio with details. So, Komala, what are some of the immediate recommendations reached by these stakeholders?
MFA, some of these recommendations are that the parties pledge unconditionally to disband their militia groups, and also the Small Arms Commission should embark on an exercise to retrieve all the arms in possession of these vigilantes. Assistant Programs Director at the NCC, Imurana Mohammed, has been announcing some of these immediate recommendations.
The Small Arms and then Light Weapons Commission, upon disbandment, some of these groups hold weapons that are deadly. You can't just go and hang it in the room and every day be looking at it. There should be a way to retrieve it. And then so we are encouraging the Small Arms and Light Weapons Commission to embark on an exercise towards retrieving these weapons from the members of the vigilante groups. We also heard from the consultations that within the parties themselves, there are some kingpins. They hold money. They are money bags. They sponsor the groups. We are thinking that instead of sponsoring such things, why don't you engage them in a very constructive way by giving them employment?
So there were some short to long-term recommendations that were made by these stakeholders, Komla?
Yes, MFA. So these stakeholders, I have to add, 12 of them, including the judiciary, the police service, the NDC, the NPP, and all other parties who are not represented in Parliament, SRAJ, all these individuals, the Office of a Chief Imam were part of this particular engagement. And some of the recommendations, short-term, are that the police and the judiciary should arrest and prosecute perpetrators of political violence. Also, they have some information for the Electoral Commission. It says the Electoral Commission and relevant stakeholders should revive political parties' code of conduct with focus on the fight against vigilantism, and the media should also intensify and sustain the fight so we could make inroads in this regard.
Okay, Komla, thank you. But even as the Peace Council prepares to mediate this crucial meeting tomorrow that we're all looking forward to, of course, we'll bring you details here on Joy 99.7 FM. Former Chief of Staff during the S. Akufo administration, Kojo Mpieni, has challenged the governing NPP and opposition NDC to admit their part in the worrying phenomenon of party militias.
As some people are saying, it's more criminal than parties. But fortunately, these groups belong to these parties, and the parties themselves know them. So if the parties are very sincere and they believe that, look, we are part of the problem, so let's sit and solve the problem, I think it will go a long way in solving the problem. So I think it's not a bad idea for the parties to accept that we are part of the problem. So let's sit together, let's put our heads together and find a way of solving this problem, because it's a dangerous problem which we don't solve. The consequences, nobody knows.
So Former Chief of Staff, Mr. Kojo Mpieni, now ahead of the meeting, Chairman of the National Peace Council, Most Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante, tells Joy News that he's confident the meeting will yield the desired results ahead during that meeting.
Tomorrow's meeting is a technical meeting involving committee members from the two political parties, NDC, MPP, and a committee from the NPC. They are meeting to discuss terms of reference and terms of engagement. Then we'll be in a position to tell the public the venue and the timing for the mediation.
So that's Most Reverend Professor Emmanuel Asante. He's the chairman of the National Peace Council. And in the last few minutes, the NDC has issued a statement and they are calling for the publication of the Ayawaso West Wuogon Commission report. That's the Emile Short Commission's report. We know that commission, the report has been sent to the president. And my colleague Elton has a copy of that statement and will give us details of it.
So, MFI, in brief, you will recall that on the 15th of March, the Emile Short Commission presented their report into their investigation into the Ayawaso West Wuogon parliamentary violence to the president. Now, what the NDC is saying that they're describing it as blatant disregard for the principles of transparency and accountability that the president swore to uphold. And in spite of the fact that the NDC boycotted the parliamentary by-election, they believe that the Ayawaso West Wuogon issue is a matter of intense national and international interest, and that the people of Ghana deserve to know the findings and recommendations of the commission. In the circumstances, they are calling on President Akufo-Addo to cause to be published the full report of the Emile Short Commission immediately. And Samir Gyamfi signed that statement.
Unfortunately, he's joined us in the studios live as well. Thank you very much for joining us here on Newsnight, Mr. Samir Gyamfi.
Thanks for
Please,
having me.
and this is coming at a time that the two political parties are meeting tomorrow. They're meeting the National Peace Council. Please don't tell me there's a term, is a condition for that meeting.
Not at all. This has got nothing to do with that meeting. That meeting will take place. We will be there, and it is our hope that we will achieve, some strides, in our efforts to end the canker of political vigilantism. But this is a different matter. We are saying that the president swore to uphold the principles of openness, transparency, and accountability. As somebody who prides himself with the passage of the right to information, law, we think that it is incumbent on him to publish the report of the Emile Short Commission so that at least the people of this country can know the findings and the recommendations of the commission. Obviously, you know that what happened at Ayawaso West Wuogon was a blot on the reputation of Ghana. It reduced our standing as a beacon of democracy in the Committee of Nations. People have suffered various injuries as a result of that. Homes have been destroyed as a result of the brutalities meted to innocent, citizens and members of the National Democratic Congress. We had hoped that the criminal justice system would have been activated by government to deal with this problem. We had hoped that police would have investigated those atrocities which were purely criminal
But do you
issues.
know if nothing is being
Till
done
date,
as
we don't know
speak?
the state of that, because the guy who slapped
sought to find out?
a certain member of parliament is still walking the streets of Ghana as a free person. Those who were captured on video, brutalizing innocent civilians with cudgels, axes, and so on. Those who shot on armed civilians without any lawful justification, without any provocation, are still working as free men. So we have not seen any criminal prosecutions of the people who were involved in that. Neither have we also seen the results of the Short Commission, which we spend the taxpayers' money on, and which we have spent state resources and time on. And so we are saying that it is about time government acted on this Ayawaso West Wuogon violence matter. We cannot allow it to slip.
Prior to the statement that you're demanding openly, have you made advances to be able to get a copy of that, and you were denied?
No.
Has that happened?
You see, the report was presented to the president about a month ago. We had thought that after studying the report, the president was going to do the needful. As a
and you are sure that is not going to happen?
Apostle of the rule of law and the principles of transparency and accountability, we felt that naturally he would be inclined to publishing this very important report. And you know that this report will even be very significant for the process which will commence tomorrow, i.e. the stakeholder engagement between us and the NPP, which is going to be mediated by the National Peace Council and all that. To date, we still don't have the report. And that is why we think that it is imperative for him to publish the report and publish it immediately. And I think that the media, all stakeholders, civil society organizations must join us in this call, because we want to know the evidence which came before the commission and their findings, the recommendations they have made. We don't want this report to remain on the shelves of ministries and government agencies gathering dust like we have done in the past. Government assured us that something good was going to come out of this process, and that is exactly what we are demanding.
Well, that's the Director of Communications of the NDC. But just before you go, the President has 6 months within which to issue a white paper or publish the report. I'm sure you're well aware of that, right?
That is if the President...
is he still within that? He's still within that.
If the President so wishes to issue a white paper, but we think that it will be very... it will be how should I put it? It will be very negative and unacceptable for the President to issue a white paper on this.
Why?
He had absolute confidence in the Short Commission, you know, and so we expect him to publish the report of the commission, because our brothers in the NPP and spokespersons of government have explained that they have absolute confidence in the judgment and in the discretion of the members of the commission, and they expressed the belief that they were going to do a good job. We don't want government subtracting or adding to their recommendations. That is what happens in this country. We always constitute commission of inquiry. We spend state resources and time on them. After their work, by a stroke of a pen, the President issues a white paper rejecting recommendations which are not in favor.
You think that's what is going to happen in this case?
That is what some people are suggesting. And we are saying that there should be no room for that at all.
Okay.
Let us see the raw, like they are calling for raw video footages in relation to the Galamsey fraud, documentary published by ACE investigative journalist Anas Arime Yawanas. We expect to see the same thing here. Let us see the raw report. We are all discerning. We can read, understand, and apply that to what we saw on our screens as we watch the proceedings, to see whether a good job has been done and whether this can offer any, lasting solutions to the problem of state-sponsored violence, which is gradually becoming part of our
Mr. Simon Jemfi, we're grateful for your time here.
Thank you
on
very
Newsnight.
much.
You're still listening to Newsnight, and still to come, 35-year-old Nigerian to spend 6 years in prison for lashing her daughter with a kitchen knife and a pair of scissors.
The trouble my daughter had been causing me, she have always been stealing anything, unless she didn't set her eyes on the thing. If it's money, any amount it is, she will take all. She will not leave anyone for me.
We have details of that. We'll also talk about the city, and we're going to get some new notes. Charles Aite is in the studios with the very latest from the world of business.
Hello, MFA. So coming up in business, the World Bank 2019 Pulse report reveals that sub-Saharan Africa growth has been disappointing despite gains made by some countries on the continent, and 58 Ghanaian entrepreneurs to receive $5,000 seed capital from entrepreneurship program. Also, CEO of MTN assures of higher yields in shares amidst fluctuation on the Bears. Business News on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN. Welcome to a new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all office essentials. First National Bank, we are the bank that understands your business. First National Bank, how can we help you?
It's your day off and you end up looking after the baby while your wife goes off to work. You realize you have no idea how to change a diaper. So you video call your wife.
Hello, darling.
Yeah, hello. Hello.
Kojo, is everything all right?
Everything is not all right. I'm not seeing Topo. How do I change a baby's diaper, please?
Kojo. Okay, first, put the diaper.
The video call freezes. While you wait for the internet to catch up, the baby sprouts a fountain and wets the diaper. As you are getting a new one, your wife comes back online.
Kojo, no. Why did you leave Abeku alone on the bed?
But I had to go and get a new diaper. What must I do next? I beg, quick.
Open the front of the diaper. It's the side that has...
Wow, look, the video freezes again. Abba.
By now, you know where the conversation is going. There's no buffering in real life, so why accept it from your internet connection? Get connected and experience ultra-fast internet to your home, powered by MTN Fiber Broadband. We're there for you, everywhere you go.
Let us help you bank with the right bank.
At First National Bank, we're more than just a bank. We're a digital partner that actually understands your business. Enjoy massive value with our various banking solutions. Get a business check account, a day-to-day transactional account for all businesses from all sectors of the economy. Access our online banking enterprise and bank your way 24/7. Invest with our short or long-term options that enable immediate access to funds. Optimize your cash flow, raise capital, and acquire assets with ease with our lending solutions. Trade with speed, consistency, and innovation with our global payments and forex solutions. With so much value up for grabs, there is no reason not to bank with First National Bank. First National Bank. How can we help you?
We give you nothing but the best, we stay above the rest. More quality, more affordability. Kingdom Books and Stationery. Everybody's going to the one and only shop where customer satisfaction is a guarantee. Kingdom Books and Stationery.
Oh yes, with our 30 days credit facility with no interest charge, free delivery services, and our free consultation on setting up your office, Kingdom Books and Stationery is unmatched in our delivery of quality and affordable office essentials, equipment, and furniture.
Experience world-class customer service in all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, and Takoradi.
Call us on 0302-764-101
or visit our website at www.kingdomgh.com.
Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all office essentials and stationery. Terms and conditions apply.
Honey, I need to get some.
But I don't have cash on me. Let me get some fuel quickly and let's go.
And how are you going to get the fuel? I thought you said you didn't have cash on you. What is this one?
My Puma card.
All it takes is a card. The Puma card allows you to buy fuel cash-free from all Puma energy filling stations. You can use your Puma card with any Visa points of sale and ATM across the country. The Puma card also works on mobile money. You get amazing discounts when you fill up with your Puma card. So register for free and get your Puma card instantly at any Puma filling station.
And you only got one for yourself, eh?
Yeah, would I have had my peace of mind?
Oh, thank you, honey.
And where are you going?
I'm getting something from the shop real quick. I need to test the card.
Puma card. Cash-free convenience. Joy 99.7 FM.
You're welcome back to business. Now, reported growth in sub-Saharan Africa for 2018 was 2.3%, a fall from the 2017 growth of 2.7%, according to this year's April edition of the African Pulse report by the World Bank. According to the report, economic growth remains below population growth for the fourth consecutive year. The publication also revealed that though growth has been slow, it is expecting a rebound of about 2.8% in 2019. Here's the lead economist at the World Bank, Cesar Calderon, explaining at a press briefing.
It's interesting the dual nature of borders, because on the one hand, Africa's borders are porous in the sense that conflict doesn't respect national borders anymore. Security challenges, peace challenges, and economic shocks tend to spill over community borders or national borders in the region. And that basically requires, as Albert really pointed out, the formulation of more innovative solutions that go beyond the country level. In this case, regional initiatives are important. At the same time, talking about the dual nature of borders tend to be thick in Africa when it comes to the trade-off. There are a lot of barriers that are imposed by government, tariff barriers, non-tariff barriers. And at the same time, there are high costs of trade facilitation that end up, leading to higher involvement.
Lead economist at the World Bank, Cesar Calderon. Now, 58 young entrepreneurs from Ghana have been selected to benefit from a seed capital from the Tony Elumelu Foundation. The selected entrepreneurs will receive a non-refundable $5,000 seed capital, also access to mentors, and a 12-week business training program. Tony Elumelu is the founder and chairman of the foundation.
Eradication of poverty must be a collective responsibility of all of us, not just the Tony Elumelu Foundation. What I see happening if others were to come on board is that we'll be progressively reducing the level of poverty, we'll progressively increase female participation in the economic activities of the continent, we'll progressively increase the number of jobs we create, because we know that small and medium-scale enterprise create jobs. Big government or big companies don't create the kind of jobs that the continent has fast-growing population.
founder of the Tony Elumelu Foundation, speaking after the announcement for the winners of this year's entrepreneurship program in Abuja, Nigeria. Now, CEO of MTN Ghana, Selim Adadivo, has assured shareholders of a positive outlook despite recent fluctuations on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Speaking to Joy Business at a media engagement, Selim Adadivo stated that their overall performance must not be linked to the performance of the stock market.
It's the most critical element to look at. There are some short-term movements on the bears that are impacting the stock price. However, if you look at the fundamentals of the business and the performance, that should give any shareholder the confidence that there's nothing to be worried about. We have to look at 4G from the experience standpoint, and today the feedback we get from our customers in terms of our 4G and 4G Plus have been extremely positive.
CEO of MTN Ghana, Selim Adadivo. Ghana has been urged to do more in ensuring that its cybersecurity regulations are strictly implemented to ensure a safe cyberspace for industries. Speaking to Joy Business at a workshop by tech giants Microsoft and Innovare on generating adequate trust and confidence in ICT systems, lead commercial attorney of emerging market for Microsoft, John Edokpolo, said the government must go beyond regulations to enforce compliance.
Ghana is one of the most advanced on the West African subcontinent in terms of the regulations that you have in place. We have the data protection. It's one of the few countries that have a dedicated data protection law. We have the cybersecurity directives from the central bank as well. So from a regulatory perspective, Ghana is actually way ahead of some of the other counterparts.
Lead commercial attorney of emerging markets for Microsoft, John Edokpolo. And finally, before we go on the stock market, ADB lost 89 pesos on its share value to close trading today at 5 cedis 9 pesos. Standard Chartered Bank also lost a peso on its shares to close trading today at 19 cedis 50 pesos. And there were no gainers today at the close of the trading. And that's it for business news on Newsnight with me, Charles Aite.
It's time to experience something different, unexpected, and definitely beyond banking. It's a new era at GCB Bank, Ghana's most welcoming bank, where we offer you a world of financial security, flexibility, and convenience. We swiftly serve you with over 180 branches and 300 ATMs, and provide e-banking solutions that make it possible for you to bank anywhere, anytime. When you need a personal loan, sooner is better than later, so we give it to you in 24 hours to make sure the experience is always memorable. At GCB, your opportunities are limitless and we keep you smiling at all times. We're bigger and better, ready to take you beyond banking. GCB Bank, your bank for life.
This is what you've been waiting for. The internet experience you've been dreaming about. Welcome to Vodafone's Gigabit Net. Music, pictures, and large documents downloaded in seconds. Lessons from your favorite online masterclass streamed right into your bedroom. With Vodafone's Gigabit Net, it's not downloading, it's downloaded. It's not sending, it's sent. It's not buffering, it's streaming. Switch to Vodafone and get the real 4G experience on Ghana's only Gigabit network. Get 100% bonus for every daily, weekly, or monthly bundle purchase via *700#. The future is exciting. Ready?
Thank you, folks. On my A list today, show some love for Contractor EB. So, Contractor, what do you think about the country's changing skyline?
Oh, send them down there, Shurima. Across skyline, they change you, papa.
Wow. Contractor, don't you get worried when you hear of buildings collapsing?
I'm out for an aswan on Tassam. It is the likability of using low quality product.
Please explain why.
Yeah, cement is no quality on your gasem. Village of Fefu. It was built with gasem. Says the gasem is your construction. Osi ho pumping. She N1 Kejete Market. Kotokana Kumasi Airport. Cape Coast Stadium. Atwabu Gas Project na. Gasebo. Messi what the quality. You know what is quality?
Gasem. 3 cement grades. Greater value. Gasem. The nation builder.
Ojame Kwame and Joy Prime present the Made in Ghana album launch concert at the Plus 233 Jazz Bar and Grill on Saturday, the 20th of April. Doors open 9 p.m. sharp. Tickets going for 100 Ghana cedis. Available at Koala branches in Airport and Osu, as well as Joy FM, or call 020-951-5510. The Made in Ghana album has features from Uyala, King Ralph, Atongo Zimba, Abiana, Fancy Gadam, Fali Finest, Ifriye Wuta, Kwame Eugene, Kitty, Curl Songs, Ayisem, Belly Nuna, Yaya, Naomi Anoko of Wulome, and Kwampa. The Made in Ghana album launch concert is sponsored by Hits FM, Grand Casamora, Niche Chocolate, and Ahead Media. More information, call 020-951-5510. Brought to you by OK Music and Joy Prime. Pre-order the album on aftown.com.
Joy 99.7 FM, radio for the discerning listener.
Thanks for staying with us here on Newsnight. Let's quickly take some of your comments that you've sent via WhatsApp on 0244340437. This one from Farouk in Tema says, our universities should know they are not a law unto themselves. Even the president, we vote for Ghanaians, have a say in what he does with our mandate. Ghanaians should have bigger say in our universities through the president we vote for. That's all. And this one from Sami in DC says, the government should stop the conference and blame game and fix the drain problem. It's Ghanaians that are suffering. The press conferences are enough, he says. Jagos from Insam says, so this season, flooding season, when will it end? And can the citizens also do something about it by moving from that waterlogged area? And Kofi Seidu says, what happened to the president's promise of making Accra the cleanest city in Africa when he said he was going to introduce National Sanitation Brigade to fight filth in the country? And the final one from Wolanyo in Akwetia says, we are here again talking about flood after June 3. No lesson learned as a nation. What kind of country are we building at all? Posterity will never forgive those who are responsible of preventing flood in this country. Some of your comments, thank you so much for joining us via WhatsApp. Now let's talk about cash, kudi, money, and however you call it. You know by now that the Bank of Ghana is introducing some new currencies with enhanced security features, and they're telling us this evening that they are yet to determine the estimated cost of the introduction of this security enhanced features of the currency. We'll get to hear from the head of communication, AC Hammond, explaining the features and all to us and why they cannot tell us the cost or the estimated cost. My colleague Philip Namfuri, who I'm jealous of, has already seen this new notes, and he joins us in studio with details. Philip, you saw it. Tell us about it.
Okay, so currently there's nothing tangible as in physical notes in circulation. All we have is the images Bank of Ghana has given us.
Okay.
So I'll walk you through the first one, and it's a very big name, but I would explain it. It's the optically variable magnetic image, also called Spark Life. So what it means is that on the 10, 20, and 50 Ghana notes respectively, there's going to be at the bottom left corner a cowrie, a star, and a cocoa pod respectively.
No.
I'll take it again. So on the 10 Ghana cedi note, on the bottom left corner, the new note will have a cowrie there. On the 20, there'll be a star, and on the 50 Ghana note, there'll be a cocoa pod. Right now, on the current 10 Ghana cedi notes, 20 and 50, there's a little box at the bottom left corner. If you have a 10 Ghana note or you 20 or a 50, bottom left corner is a box sort of. But now they're replaced by a cowrie for 10, a star for 20, and then a cocoa pod for 50. And also, this will have some new features in the sense that the color of the feature will change from gold to green when it's tilted. Okay. And at the same time, there will be a line passing through when you hold it up against light and when it's tilted. So that's one for the 10, 20, and 50 Ghana notes. Then the next one is the enhanced indecent band at the back of the banknote. Simply, if you take your 5, 10, 20, 50 Ghana cedis, at the back of it, again, in the middle of it, there will be a gold bar running from the top to the bottom. On the current notes we have, it does not contain it. Okay. But the new feature, it will have it run from the top to the bottom. So when you hold your note up against light, then you will see it clearly. Another important one is tetakwashi within the note. If you lift it up to light, the left-hand side, you see tetakwashi with a cocoa pot. Right now, Bank of Ghana is going to deepen this watermark. So anytime you lift it up, you're going to see tetakwashi more clearly. Himself there, and then the cocoa pot. The last one I would like to mention is the one we always see, the silver line that runs from the top of our notes to the bottom. Bank of Ghana is going to deepen this, and let me read what they are saying here. So it's a shiny broken line with movement that runs from the banknote from the top to the bottom. It is continuous when viewed against light. When the note is tilted, a star expands and contracts while the denomination value stays still. Currently on this note, we do not have it. So when it comes up, this line we have here is going to be very visible when held up against light, and there's going to be a star that's going to expand and contract in it. So these are some of the new features, particularly of the 10, 20, and 50 with the new
quite
features.
some education there, but I was thinking that we're going to reduce the number of heads on there.
No.
So we still have
so very important. The big six, the colors and the dimensions will remain the same. What I've mentioned are the new features that are going to be added to the notes.
Okay, so more heads. Okay. Philip Nafuri there bringing us details. Thank you very much. I thought you were leaving the notes behind.
No, please.
Oh, why
it's
are you
for
taking
me.
them?
I'm sorry.
Okay. But we can hear from the Director of Communication, the Head of Communications at the Bank of Ghana, AC Hammond.
There are always changes taking place in terms of technology. You know, people print their money outside the country, and they always try to reform their systems in line with best practices, in line with developments, payment systems, and what have you. And they always want to be ahead, for example, of counterfeiters. Once people learn to copy the notes around the world, they also try to change their system so they are ahead of the game. And once they do that, it means that we get to the point where we have to be able to print our money too. And so we have to print based on whatever machines they are using. So if our current currency is not up to the standards, we lose out. And we have lagged behind. The last time we changed our money was in 2007 when we had a redenomination exercise. And since then, we haven't done any major upgrade. We have managed well. We've done our currency management quite well. But we've gotten to the point where we need to also secure, our currency and therefore build all the durability and all of that into it, make sure that the machines can read, for example, serial numbers and what have you. We have machines that are able to detect whether this note is the one that is the legal tender issued by a country, for example. So we need to be able to get there, and that's
So that's the head of communications at the Bank of Ghana. We are yet to know the cost, how much it will cost us for these the introduction of these security enhanced features. But we'll still try and get some answers in the coming days. But I was telling Hans, I was telling you a while ago that I'm working hard to get my head.
Your head. It would help. I mean, I was actually taken aback when you were asking if the heads would not, reduce from the current number.
Yeah, I was hoping.
Because I mean, with the current number, the city is having a tough time. To reduce it would be it would be suicidal anyway. So let's talk sports right about now. And the Ghana Prison Service says it will sanction any officer found culpable in the assault of female referee Theresa Bromensu during a normalization committee women's special competition match that was played between Prisons ladies and Ampimdakwa ladies at the Army Park in Sunyani. PRO of the service, Vitalis Aya, says the necessary procedures will be set in motion to ensure those found culpable are brought to book once an official complaint is lodged.
I saw it on social media, precisely My Joy Online. That's the first time I heard about the assault on a referee by a prisons officer. Of course, I know these games are ongoing and it's in far away in Sunyani. So when I saw it, I decided to cross-check. I went to the sports office and then procedurally they are waiting for an update from Sunyani. We have a coach in Sunyani who should be responsible for what has happened. So I've heard it, but that is through social media. Officially, not yet. We are a disciplined institution, and if anything like that has happened, I promise that appropriate action will be taken. If it is found to be true that an officer of ours was involved in such a thing, why not? Sanctions will be applied, and you will get to hear about it in the public domain. The service is regulated. We have sanctions depending on the level of it. If, for example, this is in the area of sports, but in line of duty, if you misconduct yourself as an officer, the sanctions apply from caution right to dismissal, and even to imprisonment, depending on the weight of it.
Vitalis Aya is a PRO of the Ghana Prison Service. That's your sports.
We hope that some action will be taken.
Action must be taken.
Yeah, of course.
Very important.
Thank you very much, Hans, bringing us the latest from the world of sports. Now, a 35-year-old Nigerian, Rebecca Ojo-Odonsi, has been sentenced to 6 years in prison for lashing her daughter with a kitchen knife and a pair of scissors. The 12-year-old, according to her mother, has been stealing from her to give to her boyfriend. Rebecca Ojo-Odonsi was convicted on her own plea, told Joy News she was driven by rage after her daughter ignored her numerous warnings. She's been speaking with my colleague Patricia Roxton Hammond.
Rebecca's trial has been swift.
She was arrested last Friday. Her trial opened on Monday and was convicted same day after she pleaded guilty. Though a tearful Rebecca admission inflicted the wounds on her daughter, she explained she had come to her wits' end after several efforts to talk her out of it.
The trouble my daughter had been causing me, she had always been stealing anything, unless she didn't set her eyes on the thing. If it's money, any amount it is, she will take all. She will not leave anyone for me. Reaching last month, it was 2 phones she stole from the house. Somebody plugged phone in my room. She stole it and gave it to a certain boy. They call him Charles. My own phone, I was also sleeping. She take my own phone to the same Charles. I took her to Osu police station to report the case. They said that it's a child. They cannot discipline her. They cannot do what I asked them because I asked them to detain her and investigate who had been sending her to steal. They said they cannot do that. I returned her home. So I now decided to return them back to Nigeria. I called the father for him to send me money so that I would send them back home. He told me ending of the month, the 9th, we sleep again. 119, the 50 pesos that left in my purse, she come in and take all without leaving even 10 pesos. And that was the last money that left with me that I was having. So when I wake up and realize that she had taken the money and she left the door open and lie down again, pretend as if nothing happened. That money she took that night was the last money. When I think, what are we going to eat tomorrow? I was so frustrated because I don't know who to go to. I don't know who to run to. The father promised to send money. He have not sent it. That was the only money that left with me, even in the bank. I used the scissors to cane her hand. I used the knife to cane her hand. I didn't use it to cut her. I was caning her with the thing because if she do something, you don't do anything. The next day, she will do the bigger one. She will do the work. She don't want to change. She started this attitude from Nigeria before we left the country to Ghana here.
The victim, together with her 2 siblings, have been taken away from Rebecca to Nigeria, and she is also expected to be deported after she serves her sentence. She is, however, pleading to be pardoned so she could fend for her children.
I have to go and take care of my kids. If it's to send me back to my country, I will go back to my country, not to send me to jail because nobody will take care of the other 2.
Deputy Regional Coordinator at DOFSU, DSP Cecilia Harriet Apia Ampofo tells Joy News fast-track sentencing is how the units will now be handling abuse cases.
Every child has the right to live and right to do everything. And you don't discipline your child to hurt him or her. It's against Ghana's law. The Constitution doesn't allow that. And DOFSU, our Acts also doesn't allow it. If a child does something, you have to correct him or her in a rightful way. You don't correct him or her as in punishing him or her. Any woman who assaults her son or daughter or her child will be arrested and sent to court, and she will be prosecuted.
Rebecca is expected to start her sentence on Tuesday. For Joy News, Patricia Roxanne Hammond, Accra.
Quite a situation there, and lost for words at this point. But we'll take some of your comments that you've sent in via WhatsApp on all the stories you've heard so far here on Newsnight on 0244340437. This one from OJ at 37 says, Ghana City, currency that has lost its value. What security features again are required? This is just a grand scheme to create loot and share corrupt officials all over. And this one also says, all this huge grammar and new tangled security features. How about simple interventions to mitigate the manhandling of our city notes? To be frank, our notes are predominantly looking more and more like oil-drenched rags. Piper from Cape Coast send that in. Thank you so much for being a part of tonight's edition of Newsnight. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I am Emefa Apau. Coming up next, that's My Opinion, your favorite Monday evening show with Nana and Sakwao. And guess what? The Dumasa Economic Team Town Hall meeting is coming up. You want to stay for that. I am Emefa Apau. Thanks for your company.